Uh, Welcome to yet again second webinar. Last month we had a webinar on how to plan your finances. Today we'll be speaking on some of the biggest investment mistakes which investors commit. This is based on our experience that we have identified the top five mistakes. And this is part one because there are many more to follow. So in the part two, we'll cover the rest five mistakes. Let me set the rules before we start. So I will take you to the presentation and you can reserve your questions for the end. In case you want to ask questions, you can type your questions in the chat box. My staff is there, Anand is there. He will pose those questions to me towards the end of the session. Or you can also unmute yourself and ask me the questions towards the end. Just in the interest of time, let's take the questions towards the end. Before this, the disclaimer that the webinar is intended to educate the investors on common investment mistakes and its impact. We request the participants to take informed decisions post this session based on the risk profile. Before we start the session, let's take a quick poll. And I would encourage all of you to just take the quick poll just to give us some basic starting point. We have 30 seconds. You can take this poll. Mr. Joy wants to send his daughter abroad for post graduation after 2 years, for which he has 20 lakhs in bank account. Where should he invest this money for 2 years? He wants this money after 2 years. Where should he invest this money? So you have options: shares, equity funds, crypto, and bank FD, debt fund. Okay, some more. Only 8 have taken. We have time. Request the others to take the poll, please. So we have a better representation and a better percentage. Another 5 seconds. Okay, Kishan, can you share the results of this poll? Okay, so the results state that for a 2 year period, 54% are saying that this money should be invested in equity. That's a huge majority. 31% are saying that it should be invested in FD or debt funds. 15% are saying that this money should be invested in shares with a 2 year time frame. And I'm really happy to note that nobody has mentioned crypto. So good. So we have a very good starting point to start our discussion and go ahead. Okay. So the first mistake which people commit is investing without financial goals. And let me tell you what financial goals are. I know some of you may be aware. Financial goals basically means that you have something to work towards to. There is a very famous quote. If you don't know where you are going, any road will get you there. Which means if you don't know what your goals are, you might go in any direction and reach somewhere, but that somewhere may not be the exact place where you wanted to go originally. So always have financial goals. If you are earning money, you should have financial goals. And why you should have financial goals, I will just explain you. Financial goals basically are should be specific. Now I have given you an example below. First example, if you look down, I want to retire rich. Okay, that's a goal. Okay, fine, that's a goal. Uh, Second, when 10 years, within 10 years. So the time frame is not very really specific, but within 10 years. Within 10 years could be 5th year, 7th year, 10th year, not sure. Okay, so this person knows that he wants to retire rich, but is not sure how much money he needs. He is not aware of inflation, and he's having some idea in mind. Okay, at least I should have 2 crores towards the end when I retire. So this cannot be a specific goal. It cannot be a. It is measurable, of course. 2 crore is fine, measurable, but we don't know, it's not a specific because the time frame is not decided clearly. Okay, is it relevant? Yes, it could be relevant because in today's times you could require that kind of money to survive for next 20-25 years in retirement. And time is not really clear here because within 10 years could mean 5 years, 7 years, 10 years also. Let us look at the second example. I want to retire rich. The goal is the same. The time frame is very specifically mentioned. So time, out of the smart, the time is clearly mentioned here. June 2030, 9 years from today. Today's value also is very specific, 1.5 crores. Approximate inflation is about 7%, which means that this person is looking at a corpus of 2 crores 75 lakhs. Now, this is a very, very specific goal. So, first mistake which people do is not planning for goals. They don't have goals in mind when they plan their investments. And what happens because of that? Okay. So, what are goals? Okay. We just discussed goal has to be very specific and there has to be some money attached to it. When you plan goals based on your time frame, so we just discussed the first poll where we mentioned that Mr. Joy wants to invest his money approximately 20 lakhs for his daughter's post graduation and he requires after 2 years. As per the goal setup, the goal basket that we have mentioned here, the short term goal, it comes under a short term goal of less than 3 years. If it's a goal of less than 3 years, you should not be investing in shares at all. Okay, you should be looking at something safe because you know very, very clear that in 2 years' time, so if you are in 2021 June today, in June 2023, you require that money and you cannot afford to play with the principal. At least the principal has to be intact. And where can you get a principal intact? Fixed deposits, a postal investment, liquid fund. Liquid fund is a type of mutual fund which invests in very short term bonds, very short term, ultra short term debt or low duration. These are all debt funds which don't invest at all in shares. These are withdrawable any moment of time. In case the Mr. Joy wants the money before 2 years also, he will not face any risk in this category of investments. Okay, so this is comes under a short term goal. If you have some goals which have 3 or 8 years in mind, then apart from fixed deposit, you there could be some equity come in. Like for example, there are funds like balanced advantage funds, and there are hybrid funds. Hybrid funds is a combination of equity and debt. Okay, equity hybrid fund would mean that approximately 70-75% of the money will be in equity or shares, 30% to 35% will be in very safe bonds. That time a part of your investment can go in hybrid. And if you're very clear, like we discussed the previous example, we mentioned that 10 years goal, if it's a 10-year goal, then of course it comes under a long term goal. Then it really makes sense because it's a long term goal, because there is inflation involved. Then you could look at shares, you could look at diversified equity mutual funds. Property could be also depending upon what stage you are in, which place we are looking at, etc. Public provident fund also partly you can invest that if it's a 15-year plus goal. So there are other options available. So the first mistake which we discussed was people don't plan financial goals, because of which they commit mistakes. So you need to have clear cut goals, short term, medium term, long term, and accordingly allocate your money. So it's very clear when you create these baskets of short, medium, and long term. When you create these baskets, you need not really ask 10 people etc and get confused. You know very well, okay, where your investment should go. Okay, this is a case study which is a actual case study uh, which we came across, so that's why we are sharing with you. So there is this person who wanted to invest in a property. He invested in the property, a second property. He had his existing home. Property cost him 23 lakhs in the year 2014. He was looking at a long term period. Okay, he took a 20 lakh loan for a 20-year period. Uh, Towards 2021, recently he sold his property and he got 33 lakhs. He sold it for 33 lakhs. His 20 lakh outstanding loan, which he had taken initially, was worth 16 lakhs. He had to still pay 16 lakhs. And after paying off the loan, he received 16.7 lakhs in hand. So, what is the return that he earned? Okay, he earned a return of a negative 2%. And now here we have not considered the maintenance he has paid, property tax, etc., other expenses. Okay, he got a return of minus 2%. Now, why did he got such a poor return? Or rather, he didn't earn anything in 7 years. 7 years is a long time in a person's life. Had he been very clear about his goals, had he been very clear about this particular basket, sorry, 7 8 years, he knew where he should have put his money. If it was for retirement, then probably he should have looked at this kind of basket. Okay, he didn't do that, and what is the result? The result is this. Okay, so let me summarize the first mistake. Plan your goals. Okay, attach some value to it and a time frame. Okay, and it has to be very very specific. It could be for your children's education, for your retirement, it could be buying a house, it could be going on an international holiday. Any particular thing which requires money can be a financial goal. So be very specific, attach a time frame, attach a value, and approximate inflation can help you. So once you are considering all these aspects, you will very well know whether it's a short-term goal, medium-term goal, or a long-term goal, and you'll be able to invest in the right assets for that. So that was our first mistake. Before we move to the second mistake, let's have another interesting poll. Okay, the second poll is which life insurance policy would you prefer to buy? Whether it's a money back policy, would you want to buy a guaranteed income policy? Would you want to buy term insurance? Or would you want to buy a policy which is known as endowment, which gives you profits? We have 18 attendees, at least I expect 15, 16 to take the poll quickly. A couple of them more, please. Two more. Okay, let's share the results. Okay, the results are which life insurance policy would you prefer to buy? And so overwhelmingly 50% of them are saying term insurance. Okay, good. 36% of them are saying guaranteed income policy. Okay, because I presume that the word guaranteed income uh, influenced you to take that consider that option. 14% are saying endowment with profits, and I'm very happy to note that nobody is saying money back. So this is an enlightened audience. I'm very happy to speak to this audience. Okay, let's move ahead and understand what's the second mistake. Okay, so the second mistake is buying traditional insurance policies as investments, which is this is happening for last, I mean, several years, several decades, I would say. Even now, this keeps happening. Let me quickly tell you what are traditional insurance policies. Traditional insurance policies are policies where you pay the premium, but the premium gets divided into insurance and investment. Okay, so you are made to believe that apart from insurance cover, you will also get some money in return. Your money is getting invested. And where does that investment money go? So one part takes care of insurance cover. Where the second part of your premium goes, the second part of your premium is allocated to government bonds, corporate bonds, and infrastructure sector bonds. Okay, income earned on these bonds indicate to a fair extent what return you're going to earn on the entire insurance portfolio. What insurance companies do is, specifically with these policies, they announce a bonus based on their performance each year. So if they've made a profit of 100 rupees, depending upon the profitability and their situation, they pass on this bonus to the insurance insured people, especially those people who have taken these traditional policies. Okay, bonus rate will keep changing every year. There was a time 15 years back when the interest rates that time were about 10 11%. That time the bonus rates were in the range of 8 to 9%. And with the interest rates falling, the bonus rates have also fallen. That time government bonds, 10 15 years back, the government bonds were giving us about close to 9%, 9.5%. uh, Today the government bonds are giving us about 6.45 to 6.75 for a 15-20 year period. Okay, now when you invest in such policies, first of all, you can't expect the exact return of the bonds because the company also has to keep some profits for themselves. Okay. And if you want to exit, you can't exit before 3 years. When you exit after 3 years, there is a very high exit charge. So once you get into these policies, it's very difficult to come out. You can come out easily from a fixed deposit. You can come out from a mutual fund. You can come out from shares. But to come out of these policies is not easy. Let me give you some idea of some of the popular policies which are being sold as income type policies, guaranteed plan or save assured. They come in different names: super endowment, future perfect, new Jeevan, etc. And what are the returns that these policies give you? The returns on these policies are between 4% to 5%. And what is the period of commitment? 17 years, 20 years. Huge commitment period. And at the end, what are you getting? I mean, you're getting a very pittance for what you're investing for so many years. Okay. So what might appear to be catchy in terms of the name might not actually deliver you that way. Okay. Uh, Instead, I'll give you a suggestion. Okay. Let us look at one of these policies which has a premium of 1,50,000. Okay, a traditional policy which has a cover of 25 lakhs, which means if you buy this policy, in case of death, 25 lakh death cover is there. You pay a premium of 1,50,000. Premium paying term is 20 years. Okay, the maturity of this policy will happen in 20 years. And what is this policy going to offer you? This policy is going to give you an approximate maturity of 45 lakhs. Okay, tax free amount. Now, instead, let me give you a solution. Let me give you an idea. You are interested in buying 25 lakh of insurance. So take a term insurance of 25 lakhs, okay, which will cost you 9,000 rupees. From 1 lakh 50, you remove 9,200, you cover yourself for 25 lakhs. Okay. What happens with the balance amount? The balance amount, you have two choices. If you are a very conservative investor and don't want to take any risk in shares or mutual funds, you can put that balance amount in a PPF, public provident fund. Currently the public provident fund is giving 7% tax free return. Approximate maturity with this money could be about 58 lakhs tax free. Okay, now if you are interested in taking a little bit of risk because the period is too long, 20 years, and over a 20-year period, a Sensex should be able to give you a reasonable amount of return. Then that 1,40,000 rupees investment in a Sensex fund or an index fund of Sensex can give you an approximate maturity of 1 crore. Okay, so you can compare to yourself for this long period. Would you want to be content with a very small maturity? Because we get carried away by this amount. We don't sit down to actually calculate the return that we are earning here. Because we all have a mental calculation in our mind. We don't really calculate what is the actual annual return we are earning. Okay, so don't make this mistake. Don't get carried away by the interesting names sold by these insurance policies of guaranteed income and super income, etc. Take your time, analyze it, find out whether it's a traditional policy, and then take your own call based on what I've just suggested you. Okay, so that was our second mistake, which is buying traditional policies. Let's have a last poll for today before we move to the next point. Investing in capital markets. When you're investing in capital markets, is market timing important? Means when you invest the money in market, is that important? Is time horizon important? For what period you're investing, is that important? Or past performance of mutual fund and shares is important? Out of these three, what is important? Should you look at share market where it is right now and then invest depending on that? Should you look at past performance, or should you consider first what is your time period that you want to invest for and then invest? Waiting for some more. We're getting interesting results. Again, I'm happy to see that we have an enlightened audience here. Let's have the results quickly. Okay, so the poll result is 50% overwhelmingly are saying we should look at past performance of the shares or mutual fund. Okay, this is partly correct. Yes, you should look at past performance of shares or mutual funds that you are intending to invest in, which is right. What is also right is time horizon. Okay, so are you investing for 10 years, 15 years, or are you looking at 5 years? Okay, so time horizon also is important. And I'm happy to note that majority of you have no invest. I have given this verdict. Almost 94% of you all have said these two uh, things are most important. Market timing 6%, or I would say one of them has said market timing. When you invest, depending on market is up or down, that is the right thing for us to look at before investing. So good. On that note, we will move to our third mistake, which is investing in the highest return equity schemes. Okay, if you look at the return today, so if you go to any uh, mutual fund website or any website which gives you an indicator of what is the past performance last 1 year from June 2021 to say June 2020 or May 2020, last 1 year, what has been the returns so far? So if you look at the returns, Sensex has given, Sensex is the benchmark of the capital market. So we usually represent, we look always consider Sensex as one of the benchmarks. Sensex has given 56% in the last 1 year. Okay, impressive. Mid cap index. Mid caps are shares which are in the 101 to 250 category, which is they're not very safe, but they are middle level companies. 79% returns 1 year. Small cap index basically represents smaller companies, okay, which are very high risk. They have doubled the money in last 1 year. And anybody who invested in the pharma sector, and you all know why pharma sector has gone up in the last 1 year, pharma sector would have given you 54%. And those who would have had invested in IT companies, IT index represents all the IT companies, IT enabled services. Again, doubled your money in the last 1 year. And those who put their money in the banking sector, banking, there are most of these banks are part of the index, banking index. You would have got a return of 70%. And there were a couple of IPOs which came in the last 1 year. Some good IPOs came, mixed bag last year. Average return would have been 125%. So in totality, last 1 year was a dream year. Okay, and these dream years happen once in 7, once in 8 years. Yes, I'm repeating this. These dream years are not repeated year on year. These dream years comes once in 7, 8 years. So don't get carried away by last 1 year return. Let's look at what has been the 10-year return. The 10-year return has been about 11% in Sensex. Okay, not even the 5 year. I'm telling you to look at 11 year, because 5 year return has been slightly influenced by 1 year return. That helps you increase the average. But if you want to get a proper representation, look at 10-year return. In 10 years, Sensex has given 11%. A mid cap has given a 13%. Just look at this. Small cap index, which gave you 110% in 1 year, has given almost similar to Sensex. with such a high risk category, it is given the similar return in 10 years period. Okay, so be careful about this. Okay, healthcare index again has been slightly more than the Sensex. IT index has been more consistent and have given slightly more returns. Banking again similar range. So what we are discovering here is if you ignore the 1 year return and focus on the 10-year return, this should be your actual representation or actual expectation of returns, not the 1 year return. Very soon, the reality will strike us in the next couple of years because this is not sustainable. This is not sustainable. Okay, let me give you a little more insight. Okay, let me give you some sectoral performances in the last 10 years. Okay, we just saw healthcare index gave us 54% last year. Okay, let's look at healthcare. Healthcare represents the purple shade. In 2019, healthcare was a negative 3%. And that year, other sectors had done well. Healthcare had given negative. In fact, previous 2 years, 18 and 19, healthcare was negative, or rather, the previous 4 years. Just see this: 2016 negative 12%, 2017 hardly just above the principal, 2018 negative 5, 2019. If somebody would have invested the money in the beginning of 2016 in pharma, would have not made any money for 4 years: 16, 17, 18, 19. And if that person would have remained invested for 2020-21 and would have got that 54%, now take the average of 5 years, he would be looking at about 11% return. Okay, let's look at some other sectors to get more insight. Look at banking sector. Banking sector did well in 19. Look at 18. Okay, hardly it gave about 5%. 17 was a very good year for banking. 16 was not a good year for banking, and 15 was a negative year. Okay, 2013 negative, 2011 was minus 30. The point that I'm trying to draw here is don't go by highest returns. Whether it's a mutual fund, whether it's the index, the highest returns are not going to last. Be realistic when you're investing in the markets. And when you're investing in the markets, as we mentioned in the first mistake, which is goal, when your goal is 10 years, when we are very, very clear, 1 year return should not be your benchmark. And as some of you mentioned, 44% of you mentioned that look at past return, past performance. Yes, when we saw the past performance, we saw that the average return was between 11 to 13%. That is what you should ideally expect. Okay, if you get something more, good, but don't go by last 1 year of high returns. You will definitely make a mistake. If today, if you're thinking that okay, small cap is going to give you a better return, high return because this has done very well, IT index has done the best. Okay, another mistake which usually we see in the media, in media when you open the newspapers etc., they always highlight the top performers. Okay, before looking at the top performers, okay, look at this chart as well. You will actually get the real picture. Okay, so that was our third mistake, which is going for highest return schemes or highest return investments, highest return stocks. Okay, so don't commit that mistake. Let us come to the fourth fourth mistake, and we just took a poll. I'm happy to note that just a small minority said that timing the market is important. And why? Okay. Many times we realize that when we look at the newspapers, when we check some of the best fund returns, we realize that even we have that same scheme. We have invested in the same scheme. But the scheme has given a return which is quite a decent return, which is what the website is indicating, which is what the newspapers are indicating. But why have I got lower returns? Why have I not got the entire return which that scheme has given? And that is because of this. That is where investor behavior comes to play. The moment you start doubting what's happening, the moment you start playing with your investment, the moment you start timing the market, saying that, okay, let me withdraw it now, let the market come down, then I will invest back again, and then the market will go up, and then I'll withdraw it back again. That is what takes away your additional return which you would have got had you stayed invested. Okay, so this is what is responsible for robbing you of the entire return. Let me take you further to enumerate my point. This is just a small study that has been done on a 10-year period. Okay, if you invested 1 lakh rupees, okay, and you did not touch your money, I mean, this is index Sensex. We're talking about Sensex. We're not talking about any equity fund particular scheme here, because index is a better representation. That is what we always look at every time. Had you invested in the Sensex 1 lakh rupees, okay, and let it continue for 10 years without touching it, without trying to play around, removing it and putting it back, etc., you would have probably made 3.5 times return in 10 years, 3.5 times of your money. 1 lakh would have become 3,49,000. Now, assuming that there were some days when you thought, let me remove my money and then put it back, and you missed the two best days. The two best days would be when the market fell, you removed your money, and the market went back again, and you missed that opportunity. Your value would have been less by almost 80,000 rupees. And in percentage term, that's quite a big amount. If you would have missed four such days when the market fell, you removed and it went up, you would have made a return of almost just double, not 3.5 times, but double. And if you would have missed 10 days, like if you are such a investor who tries to time the market regularly, tries to enter, exit. Okay, if you try to time the market, look at it like a trader, then probably you would have made a return of not even 3% or 4%. Okay, let me take you further and give you much more data. Let's look at a 20-year period. Jan 20 to March 20. Let's look at that period. Okay, I'm just excluding this period because this period the return was really high in the last 1 year, so I don't want to consider that. You invested 1 lakh in 2000, Jan 2000. There was a crisis in 2007. We all know that, when the markets fell by 50%, and there was a time when many people withdrew their investments. So one situation is where you invested, okay, and you did not withdraw, and I've considered the fall of the COVID period also. Okay, so what would have happened in spite of the 30-35% fall in the index, you would have made 5.5 times return in 20 years. Okay, a 5.5 time returns is almost equal to 13 to 14% in 20 years. Now, what you would have done, had you played around in between and removed your money when the market crashed and waited for 1 year and then said, now I'll put my money in the index, and then you would have put your money in the index, your return would have been 2.6 times. Okay, and now you should have said, no, I don't want to take any risk at all. Let me just be quietly happy with my FDs. I'm not at all investing in share markets again. Then you would have barely made 2.4 times. Okay, so this indicates we've seen a 10-year data, now you've checked a 20-year data. It clearly mentions that staying invested is important if you are in for a long term. Okay, so don't make that mistake of timing the market. Timing the market, nobody has been able to do that. Let me give you some more data on some stocks. Some of the very, very well-known stocks, and I'll be speaking about stocks also a little later. We all know these companies, great brands. Most of us use some of these brands every day, almost on a monthly or yearly basis. And Asian Paints in 2009 was at a 90 rupee stock price. In 2021, if you look at the stock price, or even if you look at 17, maybe 8-year period, or a 12, 13-year period, it has given you almost 20-30 times. Okay, Dabur has given almost like 12 times, HCL has given almost like 30 times, Pidilite almost like 20 times in less than 15 years. But again, for those who have stayed invested. Okay. Now, let me give you another interesting data of the Nifty 50. We all know this is another index which is bigger than which represents more companies than the Sensex. Sensex represents 30 companies, Nifty represents 50. So from Jan 2000 to 2020, when we plot up to uh, March, when we plot this entire journey of the Nifty, we realize that almost every year, barring 2000 to 2003, where there was a big gap, and 1 year when 2000 and 2018, 2009, and in between 11, 13, bearing these small gaps, Nifty has always been making highs. Okay, just see this, which actually indicates that in the longer period, the index is only going to go higher. Index is not going to go down, it's going to go down and not remain down. It's going to go down sometimes, yes, it'll always do. Every year, on a minimum basis, it will go to 10, 12% fall will always be there. You have to consider that as a given. But for the fact that on a consistent basis, Nifty has only been making highs from the last 20 years, gives you another indication that what's happening. Are we missing something? In 2000, in the year 2000, twice Nifty made two high points. 2003 made one high, 2004 two times, 2005 in fact 7 levels it went up, eight times again in 2007. Okay, 2020 we don't have the exact complete data of 20, but if I plot it for 21, then probably we'll get this will cross more than this, because we've seen what has happened in the last 1 year. So what does this indicate? The more time you spend in the market, the lower the risk you have, because in the long run, the market is only going to be higher. You only have problem when you take a very short term view of the market and try to stick to the market with 1 or 2 year time horizon. That is where when you might miss out, you might make losses, you might exit with a very bad experience. Okay, so that was our fourth mistake. And again, I wanted to highlight the journey again here. Started in 1990, touched the first 19 in 1990 touched 1,000 points, and then it kept on increasing. And there were various high points, low points also in the markets. But today we are looking at it at 50 to 53,000. Okay, so don't look at where Sensex is right now. It's just a number. I'll repeat this, it's just a number. 52,000 is just a number. Just like 40,000 was a number, 30,000 was a number, 52,000 is just a number. If your time horizon is going to be next 7, 10, 15 years, then this 52,000 is only going to be a number for you, nothing more than that. Okay, so that was the fourth mistake, which is timing the markets. Okay, let's hear from the market gurus what they are saying, and these are people who've been invested in the markets for 50, 60 years, not 10 years. Peter Lynch is very famously known for giving out 29% return for 15 long years. He was working with Fidelity Mutual Fund, and he ran a scheme called Magellan Fund, which gave a return of about 29% for a very, very long time. Okay, he said, and he has famously said that far more money has been lost by investors preparing for corrections or trying to anticipate corrections than has been lost in corrections themselves. Okay, he's saying that, and we don't have that much of experience what he is having. Henry Earle is saying that I don't believe all this nonsense about market timing. Just buy good value. And when the market is ready, that value will be recognized. Okay, so these are the market gurus, and when what they're saying is they're saying with some really with long experience in mind. Okay, so let's look at our final mistake, which is buying penny stocks, buying stocks of lower value. Penny stocks are stocks which are less than 10 rupees. It's like very, very small amount of per share. It's a small value per share. And also we look at stocks where the share price really falls tremendously, and people think, okay, now this is a good time to enter that stock and make some money. This is another mistake which many investors do, and they're doing even now. Okay. Before looking at what mistakes people are doing here, which is picking up penny stocks, let's try to look at some principles of stock picking. What are the principles you should look at before you pick up stocks? First, a great management team. A company which has got a very, very strong, well-known management team that takes away half of your problems. It takes care of half of the problems. Second, companies which have got monopolistic businesses. For example, we just spoke about Asian Paints some time back. Almost 40-45% or maybe more than that uh, represents market share in India for that company, which is almost like a monopolistic business. Substantial market share, again, I just explained that point. Substantial market share, the company's product is selling very well. People have known the company for many, many years. Very high return on equity, very regularly they are generating a very high return on equity. Low to zero debt, and this is where very critical. Shares which have got companies which have got minimum debt, of course you require to take loans to expand your businesses, but if you over leverage, if you take more than what is required, then the company can struggle badly. Okay, and I'll give you a few examples. Low to zero debt is excellent case. But if it's a good company, if it is having a great management team, good business, market share, high return on equity, and little bit of debt, fine. But we need to look at how much debt the company holds. Great brand value. Some of the greatest brands the company has got are very popular in the country, example, then that can be also one of the criteria to consider. Perennial business versus cyclical. What does this mean? There are some businesses where there is no recession. For example, fast moving consumer goods, your toothpaste, your soaps, your cooking oils, you require every on a day, weekly, monthly was basis. Okay, there is no recession. There is no period where people will not use those. Those are required every day. So those are perennial businesses. Cyclical could be, for example, cyclical could be examples like, say, auto sector. Auto sector does not have sales 12 months of the year. They do well. Uh, but maybe monsoon could be one of a few months. Monsoon time, probably the sales might go down because of, the people would not be really buying automobiles during that period of time. So you look at perennial business versus cyclical. So consider these criteria before entering into shares. But what people do? Look at some of the top wealth destroyers. Reliance Communications, GTL Infrastructure, Unitech, Videocon, huge debt. These companies actually accumulated so much debt that they were not able to pay back. Okay, and of course their business got affected somewhere, and because of the huge debt burden, most of these companies, went down, and along with them the share price also collapsed. Most of the share prices are down by 80-90%. And now if people feel that, okay, now these shares which were at 200 rupees or 300 rupees are available at 1 rupee, 2 rupees. If we buy it at 2 rupees, it will at least become 10 rupees. This is what I call as penny stocks. And this is where you will be making a mistake. Okay. Let me give a very classic example of how human psychology plays in the market. Let me give a very classic example of Yes Bank. I have some data of Zerodha. We were able to pick up this data from there. They highlighted two aspects here. Now, when the share price of Yes Bank was in the range of approximately 350 to 400, that time there were about close to 15 to 18,000 investors. When the share price went down to around 340, the number of investors in Yes Bank were 23,000. When the share price collapsed to 200, the investors doubled to 58,000, and it was stable at that price for some time. It went up, giving some ray of hope that, okay, a recovery is happening. Okay, it fell back again, and when it touched a level of 58 rupees, I know it is lower than that now, there were 2 lakh investors. From 23,000 investors, it went to 59,000, and as the price kept going down, the number of investors kept increasing, and towards 58, 59 rupees, there were 2 lakh investors hoping for a recovery of a company which collapsed because of management, collapsed because of NPA increasing, etc. Their business was not really, they didn't have a very great market share, etc. So these investors missed some of those points, but yet they thought, okay, you can make some money out here. You can't make money in stocks like this. This is again a better representation of Yes Bank. The blue line represents price change. The red line represents number of investors. As the price kept going down, number of investors kept going up, thinking that there is going to be a recovery. We're going to make money. We're going to make a killing. And you all know what has happened. Let me highlight some of the companies which are not available cheap. They are good companies like Avenue Supermart. I'm not recommending these stocks, but I'm just giving you a comparison. This company basically, as you all know, they have a brand called DMart where, uh, I mean, it's very difficult to find someone staying in the cities and tier 1, tier 2 cities not visiting DMart at least once a month to buy their monthly groceries, etc., monthly requirements. In spite of all the time investors saying that this price of this stock valuation is very high, you haven't seen it really collapsing. You've also always seen the price going up. Okay, why you all know strong market share, huge number of clients, low to zero debt almost, very good promoters, some of the great brand value, etc. HDFC Bank, again, one of the topmost banks of the country. Again, what has happened among the banking stock? It is supposed to be slightly expensive valuation wise, but still, this fall came in March when all the stocks were down. Not only HDFC Bank, but look at the recovery also. The stock has also recovered. I'm not saying that this will actually give you very high return, but I'm saying that instead of buying penny stocks, instead of buying companies where you are not sure what's going to happen tomorrow, and you're hoping that some miracle is going to happen there, why hope for a miracle when you know that something is really good, when something better is available, even though it may cost you a little more? Okay, Asian Paints, same example. Okay, you know the company, you know the brand, you know the monopolistic business, you know the brand value, you know the management. Yet, because the price is higher, we want to avoid, but the price is not going down anytime. I mean, I'm not saying anytime would mean that some price corrections keep happening, but have you seen that it is languishing somewhere for a couple of years? No. The journey has only been up, similar to the Sensex movement. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is that, and I'm not saying some of the stalwarts in the markets are saying, it is far better to buy a wonderful company at a fair price than a fair company at a wonderful price. Okay, so when you're buying shares in the market, buy good companies. Even if you have to pay a little more, once you are very clear about the business model, about what exactly they are into, about the monopolistic brand value I mentioned about good management, you need not worry about how the company is going to do well. But of course, if you're going to pick up smaller value share price companies which have actually got beaten down because of high debt, bad management, very small market share, very high loans, and you can only hope for a miracle to happen in those cases. Okay, so these were the five uh, topmost mistakes which I was able to bring it together and present it to you. Let me summarize them once again. First, investing without financial goals. I hope this point is very clear now with you. Second, buying traditional insurance policies as investments. This also, I think I've made it very clear. Point number three, investing in the highest returns equity schemes. Fourth, timing the market. Fifth, buying penny stocks or stocks of lower value. These were the five biggest mistakes. Uh, I'm happy that there was a very good uh, representation today, and